Welcome to Harder Than It Looks, Parking Uncovered, a podcast that illuminates real solutions to common problems within the parking industry. I'm your host, Brian Wolff, CEO of Parker Technology, and in each episode, I'll introduce you to real parking pros that will bring their own tips, tricks, and best practices to manage what we all know is harder than it looks, parking a car. Hello, everyone. Today's guest is someone whose story has already impacted this podcast in a very real way. One night, wide awake with insomnia, she pressed play on our episode of Harder Than It Looks with Sue Malone. At minute 43, she heard Sue say, "If anyone out there is listening and needs help, contact me." She did exactly that. And 5 months later, she secured SBA funding that changed the trajectory of her company. On the show today is Susan Cole. Susan Cole is the CEO of Cole Ticket Solutions, or CTS, a woman-owned industry-shaping business modernizing consumables, automation, and supply chain efficiency for airports, municipalities, universities, parks manufacturers, and operators across North America. With 2 decades of parking experience, deep technical expertise, and a career that spans continents and transformations, Susan brings grit, resilience, and innovation to every chapter of her story. Today, she's here to tell that story. From her unexpected start to her entrepreneurial leap to the future she sees for our industry. Susan, welcome to Harder Than It Looks.
Thank you, Ryan.
Great to have you. You have a great story, and it involves, well, part of it involves Harder Than It Looks. There's a lot more to it, and I can't wait to get into it. And so what I like to do, as you know, if you've listened to the podcast, is I like to hand my guests the mic, tell them to go back as far as they'd like to go, and tell us their story. So I'm going to hand you the mic. Tell us the Susan Cole story.
Gosh. Okay. Well, thank you for having me, and thanks for kind of forcing me out of my comfort zone. This is my first podcast that I've ever done.
Awesome.
I'm excited to be here with you. No, be a part of it all. So, I happened into the parking industry over about 20 years ago, as most people. I don't think that most people chose to get into parking. I think that they just sort of happened into it as I did. I was actually living and working in Spain, and I had been there for about 6 years, and it was about time to come home. And I was in software, and so through a headhunter that I was working with to just check out, see where my next gig was going to be. I thought that it would be something in software because I was in software. And I chosen the cities that I wanted to be. I wanted to come back home to Los Angeles, where I'm from, or I was open to San Francisco or even Seattle. And ironically, this headhunter sent me a profile about a job based in Azusa. Azusa, out of all of the cities in all of LA, was a place where I actually grew up. And I went to elementary school, I went to junior high school, I went to high school there. And the thing that I noticed, the first thing was that, first of all, they spelled Azusa wrong. And so I'm like, okay, what is this? And as I started to look at it, it kind of checked all the boxes that I was looking for. I was looking for an international position that I could use my language skills. I was looking for something in sales. It hit every single box with the exception of it being software. And I'm like, what is this? It's a manufacturer, a ticket manufacturer. Like, people do that? Like, it's kind of one of those things that you never, you just don't think about that often, and about the companies that make the products. And then it even got a little weirder, like, and parking, like, what in the world would I be doing in parking? Well, long story short, after interviewing and meeting what would be my future boss and the team, and I thought, this is great. I could go from 0 to 60. I can really see me growing this position. Growing and doing work in North and South America, because that's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to travel and sell. And once I got my hands in, I saw that there was just huge opportunity from all sides, from all different markets and different verticals, from airports to universities to municipalities to to the private side, to operators. And then as I really dug in and we started to grow market, and in North America and in South America, we ended up opening a small manufacturing plant in Mexico. And at one point we were doing all the Walmarts, and I mean there was a huge volume. We grew probably from the time that I started till the company was sold in 2019, at least over 400 or 500% in from having, yeah, in sales and different products and things. And then, that was 20 years ago. The company was great. It was a family-owned company, and as the industry was changing, I was growing. My imported my husband, he from back from Spain, and we bought a house and we started a family, and so it was the whole trajectory of really, adulthood and adulting and really getting into building the relationships in my career and parking. The one thing that that just really kept me all engaged with the industry and the different aspects of it and the different facets is the people. You build these relationships, and maybe someone's at one company today and tomorrow, or actually everybody was always at Central. Everyone came from Central at some point,
Yeah,
was the saying, right?
it's true.
Or Standard, and they moved over to the other operators, and now Metropolis. But and so these relationships, people didn't just go away. You could continue to build on the things and the people and that you started years ago. And that just always kept me really engaged. And as technology changed and as we began to get more technology, that was always I've always really been into loved anything that's technology based. And I love that software was getting more involved into the more mechanical parts of what we were providing. But in even back then, before we had a huge amount of technology, I just always really loved to solve problems and and work with people. And that was we were able to do that and look at kind of the bigger picture. What are you using for revenue control in this way? What are your credentials? How can we fit in there? What can we do for you? And so that concept of service level I think kind of parlayed from my software experience, and that it just can't be a product. There's got to be something else behind it, something else to engage and keep people and to keep your customers. And those were like 17 formative years of learning how to do that in our industry.
All right. So in 2019, the business was sold. Is that right?
Somebody read their tea leaves because it was about 7 months prior to the pandemic.
Mm.
The family decided that it was time, and it was getting it's pretty tough manufacturing here in California, and higher costs, and being trying to compete with people who don't have the same um, the same costs associated with
Sure.
producing the same product.
Yep.
And so one of our competitors in the industry bought digital printing systems, and I went with them for a little bit. And it wasn't quite the right fit. And so I was offered another opportunity at a different manufacturer that shall remain unnameless. I'm just kidding. And I was there for a year. And 6 weeks in, the pandemic hit, everything shut down. I became a furloughed part time, furloughed and part time, but also a kindergarten and second grade teacher at the same time, which was probably the hardest job I've ever had in my life.
I'll bet a second and a first grade teacher. Is that what you said?
Oh, well, my daughter was in kindergarten, my son was in second grade when
Yeah. Yeah.
school shut down.
Oh yeah. Hard
Yeah,
job.
trying to keep a 6 and an 8-year-old in front of a screen for any amount of time doing that. It was an exercise in extreme patience.
Yeah.
And it was hard. And so my husband was working and considered essential, and so that fell to me. So it was there were as many people had hard days, but those were really 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 challenging. And well, that ended in January of 2020, and we're now 11 months into no. So 9 months into the pandemic at that point, we still don't have vaccine. And so we pretty much can't go anywhere, can't do anything. And, nobody was hiring, even if you were
Right.
looking.
Yeah.
And so I decided that, you know what, if I'm going to try to teach my kids to be resilient, if I'm going to teach them to, create your own opportunity, I need to be an example. And I need to, grab my bootstraps and, put, you know, put put on the big hat and go forward. And I thought, if I can take everything that I've learned in the past 20 years and the relationships that I built, if I can figure out a way to continue to provide solutions and just find where I can, source the products and things and be competitive, then I can do this. And that was 4.5 years ago in February. We turned 5. And so it's been it's been a challenge. It's been a road. It certainly has. And I honestly um my thank my family first, my husband, and being so supportive, and my kids, rooting me on and things. And without that, then I don't think that I'd have even the reason why to even do it. But really, the doors that were open for me were all of the contacts and all of the relationships that I built over the years. And they said, you know what, we'll give you a shot. Don't mess it up. And if you do, you're gonna hear from us. But the first airport opened the door, and that allowed for me to become certified as an airport, an ACDBE, an airport concession disadvantaged business entity. And that opened the door to other airports and then municipalities and bids and so now we are certified. We have 35 certifications throughout the U.S. As for airports, municipalities, small business, local business, and yeah, we're taking names, trying
Yeah,
to anyway,
that's awesome.
um, trying to grow. Yeah.
So we're going to get into the CTS story just a little bit later, but I want to take you back to the night. So tell me about laying in bed at 3 a.m, why you were laying in bed at 3 a.m, wide awake, and what possessed you to turn on Harder Than It Looks.
It is like so unlike me to even watch podcasts, but it's actually because of you, really. Well, I wasn't in bed awake at 3 o'clock in the morning because of you. That's not the reason why. Going back, yeah, part of the how do I say this without being political? The political climate now is such that the tariffs that were kicked in earlier this year forced some different sourcing strategies. So, the idea is I many of the products I source here in the U.S., not from the other two manufacturers that make them, or three, the two U.S. based ones, because they're my competitors. But in some of the products that are highly specialized, that are certified by, say, like Ski Data or Designa or Scheiten Bachmann, I work with manufacturers that have those certifications in Europe. And so that required me buying a lot more product than I would normally, in addition to anticipating tariffs from different countries to add into the price, and trying to figure all that out and continue to grow and attend trade shows and all of those, go and be out in the market, and all those things cost money and that cost cash flow. And not all companies have gone back to net 30-day payment terms. And so being that my company's I started right smack in the middle of the pandemic, I wasn't able to get PPP. I wasn't able to apply for loans. Well, I applied for loans, but they wouldn't give them to me
Hmm.
because if you're not in the industry, and even if you are in this industry, when I tell people that I sell, we supply consumables and tickets specifically, in addition to other credentials. But most people are like, "What? Those are going away. Everyone's being done with that." And it's like, okay, yeah, no. When's the last
Yeah.
time you went to the store? When's the last time that you parked? What did you take with you? You took a piece of paper, probably, or a
Yeah.
credential.
Yep.
Well, there's definitely a lot more applications that we don't use tickets, and it's definitely decreased, but it hasn't gone away. But outside of our industry, it's very niche, and it's hard for people to understand the business behind this, and that it is a viable business, and it is a niche. It's it does occupy a niche part of our business, but it is a viable business.
Yeah,
Anyhow,
for sure.
um, and I struggled showing that, in, or at least all the ways, all the places that I went to go look for money,
Yep.
they it wasn't wielding anything. And so it's very stressful. And so it's hard to sleep, when you're like, trying to figure out how you're going to do these things, um, continue to, participate, continue and buy, um, buy product and supply your customers with the orders that they're placing. Cause, most nobody's paying ahead of time for anything.
Right.
And so I had even tried to refinance my house, and they said, no, we think that you already owe enough money. So at the very end, I ended up, pulling out from my 401k, or my IRA, just to float the business and see what I could do. But, knowing that that would hit a very big penalty. Yeah, I was awake at 3 o'clock in the morning many nights. And the reason I was flipping through LinkedIn, and I remember in the very beginning of the dark days, I always liked reading your articles. You always had humor, and
Mm.
I just thought, I just need something to distract me. And honestly, I don't watch podcasts. I really don't. Like, it's when I'm in the car, I listen to the news or music or something. But
Yeah.
it is completely unlike me to do that, especially 3 o'clock in the morning when the house is silent, and
Yeah.
even you can hear out of one earbud the muffled sounds.
Yeah.
And the thing, and I was just gonna click through and just try to fall asleep. But then the first thing that I heard Sue say was, "Well, if you haven't failed, then I wouldn't help you." And I'm like, well, I'm feeling the failure right now. And I'm thinking, and then I was listening. I'm like, oh my God, she's speaking to me. You guys did this podcast for me, like, literally. And I think maybe one of the reasons that I have had success in my life and in business is that I don't give up. I really don't. And when I heard that, I was, thought, oh my God, if she can do this, and if she's talking to you, and I know you're legit, like, this is not the million and one people that are trying to, blow smoke, and then so
Yeah.
the very next day I reached out to Sarah, and I said, Sarah, can you please introduce? And I was so surprised Sue called me back, and we connected, and she's just amazing. She was just amazing. She was, no nonsense. And I'm like, okay, the it literally held my hand the whole way, the whole way. Like, the projections that I had done, she says, no, you need to redo this, you need to do this, and guided me with all the steps that I didn't know that I needed to. I didn't know what half of it meant anyway. And she was just super patient. And the first bank we talked to, and she said, no, I found something better. And I said, okay, well, let's go for better, and I honestly was surprised that the process took so long, because I mean, I've never done an SBA loan before, but um, it was pretty intense. And I mean, and there was a lot. There was a lot. I mean, honestly, I thought that they were going to ask my blood type at some point, because I mean, they needed to know everything, literally everything. And yeah, so she helped me, get them what they needed. And I was funded literally the week before the government shut down, which was, I don't want to tell you how many other times in the middle of the night I was awake. Like,
Yeah.
when is this, how this was, it was visceral, like, literally through the whole thing. But yeah, that's your smiling face, man. I was like, he's gonna tell a joke or something. It's gonna make me laugh to distract me, or something, something lighthearted, or some look for the silver lining in the cloud, all of that, be positive, continue to believe in your dream, just keep on, something like that. But no, it was Sue.
It was Sue.
And
So a couple of things. So first of all, I don't think I'm particularly a deeply religious person, but I'm certainly spiritual, and definitely believe in the hand of God. So you're living a hand of God moment, but actually times two, because what you don't appreciate is the first part of what you said when you went to these banks and they were like, what? You're in parking. Like, how is that a business? right? Well, Sue Malone happened to, as you knew from the, as you know from the episode, she actually owned parking assets in California, so she knew parking. You are at least the second parking company that she has, I won't say saved, but has helped in a meaningful way because of her knowledge of parking. The first one is Accra, which is how I got to Sue in the first place, right? She picked Accra out of obscurity in an incubator down in Southern California. You know, everybody said the same thing to Accra. Parking, how interesting can that possibly be? And when Sue Malone read their business plan, she's like, "Ooh, I know that business, and I know they've got something, right?" And so, your ability to connect with her and her to understand the parking business is really the kismet in all of this. So, besides the fact that Sue Malone knows everyone, and she's an amazing woman. I mean, well, you've already spent time with her, so you already know. I mean, talk about still waters run deep. Oh my goodness, you could. Sue Malone she's amazing, as in addition to being super driven. So okay, so you press play, you got through it, you heard her say, "If I can help you, call me." Like, what went through your mind? Like, at that moment at 3:43 in the morning, you're like, "Okay, I got to write that down. I'm gonna like." What were you thinking?
Like, what I wonder what time zone she's in.
Can
I
I call
mean,
her now?
really. No, really. I mean, I'm like, I probably should wait until everyone wakes up. No, I just thought, she's this is probably one of my last, not my last hope, but I don't know what else I'm gonna do. Um, I knew that immediately that the next that I was gonna connect with her, and I looked up and tried to find out everything I could, and but as I was listening through to her podcast when you were interviewing her, the Embarcadero, I actually used to supply tickets for those locations. I know
Is
the
that right?
original yes, I do.
That's fantastic.
I'm like, I started to reach out to my network. Do you know Sue Malone? Do you know Sue Malone? Do you know Sue Malone?
Yeah.
And thank God, and Sarah, thank God bless her soul. No, I'm with you. I'm a spiritual person too, and I really do feel like it was just kind of meant to be, like, just all of the stars crossing at the same, at the right time. And I just really, and the minute that I spoke with her, I was immediately put at ease, and she's just like, okay. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. And I think about it as I remember walking through the Embarcadero garages. And we actually have a very unique project that we supply the ski data tickets for 21 locations in San Francisco. But as a matter of fact, we created a self-serve supply room up there. So when I think about when I'm in San Francisco and thinking I'm walking these same garages that Sue did,
Yeah.
there's some, it's super cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Super magic. Okay, so when the SBA funding finally came through, like, what did that moment mean to you?
Oh, dear God. Well, I wish that we were doing this from our new warehouse that we just moved to 2 weeks ago, with our new Big Joe stacker that will allow for us to lift heavy, heavy pallets. I know it sounds really silly, but for it really, it was a life source, really. Being able to pay my vendors, being able to move into a spot that's just dedicated just us, not a shared micro warehouse, and just the weight of uncertainty, and of just, of feeling stuck, not being able to move forward, not being able to, plan out marketing for next year, not being able to plan out a travel schedule, not being able to plan out development with our developers on new products that we're working on. We have a little app that we have that's ours, and we're looking to do other things with a lot of the LA 28 and the markets and the sports venues that are happening here, that's a little bit different than just your typical credentials and things, but the ability to move and breathe, really. I mean, I feel like, and sleep a little more. Not
Right.
much, but a little bit more. And just, just this feeling that a vice has been taken off of my neck, that, the ability to even think creatively, or think about, and and go and try and, go out for more bids and participate in other things. So it really did change. It changed this, the trajectory of my business, and it changed my life really. Having, and it's not even when I'm not that anything's big or small with SBA, but it's not even a huge loan, but it was a lifeline, really a
Yeah,
lifeline.
that's awesome.
Um, yeah,
Well, I love the story because it's about connection, generosity, and the unexpected moments that move us forward. And that's really what our industry is honestly about. That's what this podcast is all about. It's just being there and helping people make connections and build relationships. So it's a great story. Congratulations.
thank you.
But I want to hear more about the business. So you launched CTS in February 21, right in the middle of the pandemic. What were the first signs that you actually had something special? Like, how did you know that there were signs of life even in the middle of the pandemic?
Well, I knew that there were, airports were still working,
Yeah.
right? Hospitals are still working, whether or not people, I knew that people were essential and that there people are paying for parking. I just had to find it, and it was going to be really, really hard. I knew that because my husband had to go out every day, and I asked anytime he'd go to a hospital or he'd go someplace, I said, "Bring back your ticket so I can see, who's someone's issuing tickets. You know what I mean? Somebody is." And I had, thanks to my experience and being here local in Los Angeles, I knew the first place that I wanted to target were hospitals and airports because those are still functioning and they were still issuing tickets, credentials, and
Okay.
I said, okay, I got to get through this door first. Because if I can open this door and I can just do one of the products, then that'll allow for me to compete for other airports. And I know all the airports are working, and those are the ones that are for sure, um, issuing tickets. And then I had to figure out, well, okay, how am I going to make 6 million of these, and how am I going to pay for 6 million of these? And um, so that was hard.
Yeah.
That was hard. And I was able to gain my certification as an ACDBE. And with that, I was able to begin a little bit of business, and then I grew it a little bit more and a little bit more.
Okay. All right. So besides the certifications and you, what makes CTS so special or different?
Well, we're taking our our um, our strategy in the market is really moving away from just being a commodity.
Mm-hmm.
We treat that we treat our products not in addition to what they are, but as a service. Traditionally, tickets and consumables have been, you know, they're just a ticket. It's just an inanimate thing. You use it, you throw it away. No one really, wants it. But our strategy is that this is a service, and so um, there's more to it than just the credentials. So with a lot of our customers, we actually do tickets as a service. So they're not just ordering one product. We talk about what do you need what do you need for 6 months? And then, we'll have it ready and packaged. And so we can lower their overhead so they don't have to buy a bunch all at once or just in volume. We supply that as they need it. So either on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis. So it's it's a, mm, a service as opposed to just delivering, the consumable and being one and done with it. In addition to that, we have pivoted to not just providing the actual credential, but technology along with a credential. So in the 20 years that I've worked in this, there's a lot of places that just don't have tech yet. They don't have LPR. They don't have machinery. They're still using, you know, hang tags for their monthly parking. And, not all technology is super easy to get. I mean, there's a gazillion and one app, so you can do, pretty much anything with your phone, but there's still a lot of places that don't have anything. And so what we're doing is supplying the credential and the technology at the same time to kind of bridge that gap between no tech to a little bit of tech.
Hmm.
And later down the line, it'll be, again, more of a service model. So if you want, a way to make sure that your credential is authentic and that it's real and someone didn't just copy it, you can use our app to do that.
Huh. Okay. All right. So I have in my notes here that you've implemented an automated on-site ticket production system. What does that mean?
Well, not ticket production system, but supply room, ticket supply.
Okay. All right. So this is the consumables as a service piece.
Yes, and this is what we call cold cubes. So
Okay.
Cold Cube is the first one is in San Francisco, and it's at Fifth and Mission. And so what we've done is we figured we have an online ordering system, and when once the two operators that manage the assets are able to log in and order online, we send them a passcode, and they go pick up their tickets themselves,
Nice.
literally. So they don't have to wait for, you know, a proof and then approve the proof and then wait for it to be shipped and wait for production and then watch it, throughout the entire, track it. And they literally, it shortens all of that time in addition to cutting the overhead so that people don't have to stock up on a bunch of tickets and have them sitting in a stock room, keeping their P&L, you know, more to date and neater for, month to month. I don't know about neater, um, but it's a convenience that no one else, is able to do and have ready to go on site without any without wasting the time to, manage that, follow it, ship it, track it, all of those things.
And was that system a culmination of your experience in the business? Is that how you
Yeah, I
came
mean,
up with the concept?
well, yeah, and I had to solve for all the things that I couldn't figure out. One is, production and in the supply chain, because this is kind of like we were still in the middle, the beginning of the pandemic, where um, you know s- if things weren't moving, right, and so couldn't tell how long something would take. And I figured the only way that I would ever be able to do this is if I have to figure out what the landed cost and the supply is, and the only way I can do that is by controlling, literally putting it in the city. And so, yeah, that was one of those in the middle of the night kind of things, like, how can I do this? How can I do this? The only way that I can do this is if I'm there. And so that means I have to make it. I have to go, first of all, I have to go find it. I have to win the job first, number one. And then I have to get it for the right price. Then I've got to figure out how to make it landed in San Francisco, because there's no way that I would be able to, without controlling manufacturing, there's no way that I would be able to supply the 10 million tickets that the municipality goes through without just having it there. And so then I worked backwards. I'm like, okay, how in the world can I do this? Well, what if I, found a place? Okay, now that I found a place, now how do I automate it so that it's safe? That it meets all these criteria in order to, for the city to do it. First off, the city had to agree to rent to me, and they had to go through a whole vetting process. And then I thought, as I was thinking this through, and this is based on 20 years of walking through garages and knowing that those old server rooms, they're all going away. They're empty rooms throughout all of these garages. And I thought to myself, you know what if I could make this the ecosystem? What if this is the ecosystem?
Mm,
I mean, what these buildings generate their own electricity, right? With solar panels, everything is supposed, the whole concept of, you know, of so many aspects in our business is about the ecosystem, about tying everything in together, whether it's the guest experience with the technology, with the layout, with, the LED lights, all of those things. And I thought to myself, you know what? Why aren't the tickets stored here? They're going to be here anyway. Why don't I find a space that is suitable for all of these, that will, allow for me to do all these things? And yeah, I looked at some very interesting spots. I Then I thought maybe I could build something. And then when you think about what Reef was doing at the time with with the kitchens, right? And I thought, what if? And then as I went ticked through all of those things, and oh my goodness, I was in more garages and more, empty, just rooms. And then when I came across Fifth and Mission, and it was perfect. I mean, it was actually, I have to share a picture with you, but it was literally a dump room. It was a lost and found that they just kept shoving, bikes and old monitors and whatever. And I was like, and it had been, they had just put outlets, or not just, like when it looked like they just pulled out the computers that were in there
yeah.
when they went to the cloud. And so, I mean, it was literally a junk room, and I'm like, I see 350 square feet of beauty here.
Yeah.
got it ready and figured out how to do that. Had found developer to write me, create a website that could receive orders, and we've had a couple tweaks since then, but yeah, now we're going on 3 years. It'll be 3 years next year, and to date we have supplied over 15 million tickets. 15 million.
That's amazing. If someone can't listen to this podcast and hear the wheels turning and smell the smoke from you thinking through all of the problems that you just figured out how to solve, they are not listening very carefully. That is, it's a super impressive story for sure.
Thank
So,
you, Brian.
um, so what next emerging problem in parking are you most excited about solving? Where are you turning your eyes? Where's the horizon for you in CTS?
The horizon, well, we just moved into our new warehouse. I think I mentioned. Thank you again, Sue. Jesus.
Yeah,
um,
that's great.
the next thing is going to be a cold cube here in LA. We'll do some work here, grow our footprint here. And I don't know, maybe there'll be a little, like, robot delivering tickets down the street.
How about that?
They get food,
Yeah, that'd be
a little,
fantastic.
get our own robot, and um, have that, in addition to having the ability to self-serve and carrying different products. I have the spot already picked out in LA. Pretty excited.
Yeah, that is exciting.
So there's that. And then we're also working on an inventory program that will manage and help manage inventory of different types of credentials for us and for other customers, because we do, again, tickets as a service for other large, private operators and for different people. And so, that's a really big thing that I know that most people, most operators, they don't have a program that
Yeah,
can do that.
yeah,
And it's always the last thing that people think about. Literally, they do the installation, they make it all pretty, they do all this stuff, and oh, wait a minute, we can't do anything until we actually have the credential to start.
yeah,
So
yeah. So it's hard to tell what's first, the credential or the help button. They both tend to be last minute kinds of things for sure.
yeah, absolutely. You guys know that one.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so what partnerships and collaborations do you think the industry needs more of from your perspective?
Yeah, I think small businesses, small and new businesses, people um, that have the experience, that know not just the people, but they know the products and they know how things work. But working with other small businesses like mine, are brand new businesses, or taking a risk and taking a shot. And, there's enough market out there, really, for everybody. There's something for everybody, and there really is, just a ton of opportunity. So I would say, um, opening sorry, opening that up for more real, genuine participation. When I say genuine participation, something, whenever I am asked to partner, I always want to do something intentional, not just,
Yeah,
oh, we checked a box and
yeah,
and now we have this participation from a small business. No, I really want to do something.
yeah. That makes perfect sense. Okay, so we're rounding the bend here before we get to the lightning round. Last question for you. So you've been through a lot, right? And you've seen a lot of things. And so how has that wisdom that you've picked up along the way, how does that shape the way you look at new challenges and new opportunities, right? This isn't your first rodeo, and so you might have a little experience to be able to walk around an idea a couple of times before you crack it. I can see the wheels turning. So you are definitely a problem solver. There's no question about that. You'll find a way to get it done. I just wonder if it's changed over the years.
Yeah, I think having a little more patience with myself, learning to just take things and dissect it, and absorb and listen and really, really try to understand. before taking a jab at anything. Giving the problem really whatever it is that I'm trying to solve, give it the real effort in truly understanding what it is and what I want to accomplish, and if that's accomplishable. I mean, because sometimes, as you look at something and like, okay, yeah, that's really that's not going to work. But when you take it apart and really start to dissect it, then you can take chunks of it. There's a really big bid that was just out for credentials for the Metro Tap card, and there was a portion of it that was part that, what, I can't do that part, but I can do a different part. I can find where, find where my fit is and find where I can actually add value to something and I can do something. I think through everything that I've been through and through, in parking in life and all those things, I think that um it- there is there's always a way. There's many, many, many roads to Rome. You just got to find it and you just
Yeah.
got to stick to it.
Yeah.
And it's painful, sometimes less painful than other times. And then the other thing too is that, life isn't easy. And if it's easy, my old boss used to say this all the time. If it's easy, everyone would be doing it, right?
Yeah. For
So, so I don't shy away from the challenges, and hard work is good, and when you work hard for something, it really means a whole lot more afterwards. And if I could share, a piece of knowledge with that, with other struggling or new companies, which, by the way, if anybody's listening to this and they want to know how to go ahead and start their business, I'm happy to share. I'm happy to share whatever knowledge I have, and anything else I can do to pay it forward. Like when you and Sue helped me,
Yeah.
to
That's
find my
great.
way. But I think if there's one thing that you just gotta just believe in yourself and be stubborn and be intentional and stick to it. Don't give up ever,
Yeah.
ever.
That's good. Persistence. I also heard patience in there. I'm learning patience every day, trying to be more patient every day. It's hard. It's hard to be
It
patient.
is.
Yeah,
It
for
is.
sure. Okay. So let's go to the lightning round. And the lightning round is really just 6 questions that I ask everyone. I hope you're prepared because you listened to the podcast before. All right.
I did. I
So
did.
the first question is, what phrase are you known for?
Oh, you're gonna love this one. Well, a couple ones. Fight on.
That's right. I should have
Yeah.
congratulated you on your. I I, I think USC played their best game against Michigan. I haven't seen them play a better game.
Oh, that was excellent. That
Yeah.
was a great game.
Okay. We ran into
We
a
won't
buzzsaw for sure.
Yeah, we won't talk about last weekend's game, but that's okay. And then my next
Yes.
would be
Yes. Go ahead.
go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers. Okay. You're an LA fan. Okay. Big sports fan. That's good. I like that. Okay.
Um,
All
and
right. So
then
go ahead. You got
oh,
another
no,
one?
no, no. Well, yeah, I got one more. I asked my kids. I told them that I was doing this, and and so my dog, she said to say, the chicken doesn't like you either. So when any time it's that's our code for I don't want to eat my food, and so my answer to everything is, well, the chicken didn't like you either. So
Love that. Okay. I might borrow that. The chicken doesn't like you either. That's funny. I don't like my chicken. Well, the chicken doesn't like you either. Perfect. Okay. All right. Next one is, what's the hardest thing you've ever done in your life? Now, we talked about a little bit earlier in the session about teaching your kids. So maybe you can say the second hardest thing you've ever had to do in your life.
the second hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. Um,
Well, this is going to be good.
so, yeah, no, really s- starting this business was probably outside of having my children and trying to teach my children. Um, it was, in those dark days, in the middle of it's February in 2021, and I am, you know, petrified of the nothingness and the fear of failure, and it would that I had to really there were some really dark times, of self-doubt, and there's no money, and I wasn't getting benefits, so it was really hard. So yeah, starting this business was brutal.
I
It
kind
was
of
brutal.
expected that to be your second answer. And so when I didn't get it right away, I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be a doozy. So, okay, good for you. All right. So, the next question is, what's the hardest? Maybe this is blends together. What's the hardest part of your parking job? So, what's the hardest part of your job today?
Mm. Um, the hardest part, probably, I was going to say lifting heavy boxes, but that is really hard. We just moved warehouses. No, that's not the hardest part. That's just hard. Um, finding the right projects to participate, knowing where to spend the time, how to spend the resources, what trade shows to go to, knowing
Yeah,
where the value is, and to
yeah,
figuring that out is really, really hard, because I want to be everywhere and I want to do it all. But I can't. And so that part is hard.
yeah. Great answer. That is a great answer. We wrestle with that every day. Where do we put our resources? It is. It doesn't matter if you're big or small. Resources are limited, and you got to figure out where to shoot your shot. Right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's good. All right. So if you could wave a magic wand and fix anything in parking, what would it be?
I would fix I would try and sprinkle some magic dust on everybody's specifications, so they could be a little more clear, um, in for some things, yes,
Yeah.
to
Okay.
clear things up.
You want to read an RFP and know exactly what they're talking about, as opposed to trying to tease out the specs.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and
Yeah.
guess stuff, and
Yeah.
guesstimate.
It's not perfect, that's for sure. Okay, so when you're not parking cars, what do you do for fun?
My kids, my kids,
Yeah.
their
So
sports,
I'm doing math now. Sixth grade
eighth grade.
and eighth grade. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, so they're getting really busy.
Very busy. So it's basketball all weekend for my son, for his teams that he's playing on, and then volleyball for my daughter, and then there's the work week.
Yeah. Yep. But this is a hard time to be a parent. There's a lot going on. It's super busy, but it's also, I remember those days. They were super rewarding. I love the time.
Yeah.
I love the time
And
for.
that's another challenge too, is trying to be present, right? And not just um it can't just be the business, and it can't just be, and that's also hard, because they're like, "Mom, come on, man." It's like today is they have the entire week off
Oh yeah.
for fall break. And so they're at the car show with my husband. But I'm like, "Nope, I can't."
I gotta work. Yeah, I get it, especially short week, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll set the family as a default for this question. So you can say your family, and then of course most people do. I would say the same thing. But what are you most proud of?
Um I can, aside from my family, because yes, that is the number one. I'm really proud of CTS. I really am. I have a group of people of women that are working with me, and one, I actually have my old boss that is a consultant that helps us on certain projects. So
That's great.
we've got one male, but I've got three other women that are amazing, and that have thrown their heart and soul into this, have trusted me with their employment, with their lives, and so I'm really, really proud of that they have a place to call their home, and a job, and we have a future, and what we've built. So I'm most proud of CTS and what we've created. We have a number of contracts, you know, years long contracts in different states with different agencies. We also have partnerships with other manufacturers in the industry. And we've got a future. We've got a future, and I believe that we've got lots and lots to grow, and lots to do. So I'm really, really proud of it. I'm proud of the people that work with me. Um, I'm proud of the effort that they give. They really have given their heart and soul to be a part of Cold Ticket Solutions, and I appreciate them so much,
Yeah.
and I'm so proud of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can hear the pride in your voice for sure. And I mean, the fact that you started in the pandemic and survived. You're thriving nearly 5 years later. It's a real testament. So congratulations. I mean,
Thank you so much.
in the end, your story is an incredible story of grit and reinvention, and paying it forward, and to go from an unexpected job posting in Spain to building markets around the world to launching a company in mid-pandemic to a 3 a.m. call. I mean, you truly are a testament to just showing up and then just continuing to keep going. So congratulations for that. Thank you
Thank you, Brian.
for sharing your story and your insights, and certainly for your passion. It comes through for the parking industry. It's been great to talk to you.
Thank you, Brian.
That's a wrap on this episode of Harder Than It Looks, Parking Uncovered, presented by Parker Technology. Please leave us a review if you liked what you heard. Make sure you tune in next month as we continue to uncover tips, tricks, and best practices to manage what we all know is harder than it looks: parking a car. Bye for now.